Hello, and welcome to EFRAG's September Financial Reporting Update podcast. We are very happy to be back with our updates after a break in the month of August. I hope that you all enjoyed your summer and are looking forward to hear about recent financial reporting developments here at EFRAG. I'm Aleksandra Sivash, Financial Reporting Senior Technical Manager.
And I'm Serge Vinogradov, Financial Reporting Senior Technical Manager specializing in financial instruments. Today, we will walk you through the main highlights of the last month, providing an update on the EFRAG, FRB, FRTech, and FRTech CFSS meetings, open consultations, and upcoming events. But first of all, we're expecting to announce that we have a new project dedicated to SMEs. Aleksandra, you are leading the project. Can you tell us more about it?
Indeed, we have received a request from the European Commission to assess the appetite among the stakeholders for a voluntary template for SMEs and startups that could be made available via the European Single Access Point. This voluntary template may be viewed as the business card of the company, potentially containing some qualitative information about its business, strategy, governance, and some quantitative information, for example, key financial metrics. The objective of this template is twofold: improving the accessibility and comparability of financial information for SMEs and startups within the European Union, and by doing so, attracting investors and facilitating better access to finance for these businesses, especially innovative and fast-growing ones. So we are currently reaching out to various stakeholders to understand the needs of the SMEs, startups, and their potential investors and creditors, and whether such voluntary template could be useful for them, and what the possible content and structure of this voluntary template might be. If you are a representative of an SME or startup, investor or creditor, if you're just interested by this topic and would like to share with us your views, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn or through EFRAG's website.
Thank you, Aleksandra. Indeed, it sounds like a very interesting project, and I'm sure we will hear more about it as you progress, gathering feedback from the stakeholders. But actually, it's not the only outreach we are planning at the moment. We are also organizing a series of online workshops in November 2025, which is dedicated to the Intangible Assets project. Here I will take a step back to explain the context. In May 2025, the ISB made decisions on the direction of the Intangible Assets project. The initial activities will be organized around two parallel streams of activities. The first stream will target assessing user needs for information about recognized and unrecognized intangible assets and expenditure associated with them in the financial statements. The second stream will focus on considering whether to update the definition of an intangible asset, associated guidance, and some aspects of the recognition criteria. Initially, this will be done using test cases, application issues related to newer types of intangible assets and new ways of using them, and then considering the effects of any potential amendments on the broader population of intangible assets. The ISB selected two test cases, which are cloud computing arrangements and agile software development, and also decided to touch base on artificial intelligence and data resources without necessarily splitting those two into separate test cases. So, in this context, we are organizing a series of online private workshops in November 2025, which will bring together users, EFRAG, and ISB representatives to discuss specific intangibles, how they create value, and the information needs of the users. The aim is to explore the root causes of the information needs. All in all, we will have 4 workshops. The first one will be focused on software, artificial intelligence, data resources, algorithms, digital platforms. The second one will deal with R&D, patents, and unpatented technologies. The third one will address marketing and customer and supply-related intangibles like brands, trademarks, internet domains, customer lists or relationships. And fourth and last one will focus on intellectual property, copyrights, broadcast rights, and other intellectual property not covered in other workshops. All information, including dates, registration details, and contacts, is available on the EFRAG website.
Thank you for this update, Serge. I'm sure that these workshops will get attention because the intangible assets project is a fundamental one, touching upon the core of the business, the value creation and how we can better account for it and present it in the financial statements. So after discussing some exciting upcoming outreaches and events, let's look back at September's main activities and milestones. As you remember from our previous podcasts, we had 2 projects related to IFRS 19, subsidiaries without public accountability disclosures. This is the newly issued standard, which reduces disclosure requirements for eligible subsidiaries. At EFRAG, we had 1 project related to the standard itself, and another project following the amendments to the IFRS 19. Amendments to IFRS 19 complete the disclosure reductions and provide reduced disclosure requirements for new or amended IFRS accounting standards issued between February 2021 and May 2024. The month of September was reaching milestones for both of these projects. In September, EFRAG FRTEG discussed, FRB approved, and EFRAG issued its final endorsement advice to the European Commission on IFRS 19 subsidiaries without public accountability disclosures, concluding that the standard meets all technical endorsement criteria and is conducive to the European public good. EFRAG therefore recommends its endorsement to the Commission. In reaching this conclusion, EFRAG also assessed how IFRS 19's reduced disclosures requirements interact with the European Accounting Directive. Finally, EFRAG conducted an in-depth cost-benefit assessment of the effects of IFRS 19 through extensive outreach activities and through desktop research, where we have estimated the number of entities potentially impacted by the implementation of the standard in the European Union. At the same time, EFRAG FRTEG discussed, FRB approved, and EFRAG issued its draft endorsement advice on the amendments to IFRS 19. Here as well, EFRAG's preliminary conclusion is that the amendments to the standard meet all criteria for endorsement. The consultation on draft endorsement advice is open for comments until 28 November 2025, and we are looking for your comments on this.
So it looks like a final stage for IFRS 19 standard endorsement, so it's now largely in the hands of the European Commission and the European Parliament for the endorsement process. We will monitor the progress, and you can always see the status of the endorsement of all standards and amendments on EFRAG's website in our endorsement status report. In addition to these important milestones and publications, EFRAG continues its work on the ongoing projects, monitoring ISB's standard-setting activities, and advancing with our proactive projects. In September, we had a number of meetings where these projects were discussed. On the 18th of September, we held a joint EFRAG FRTEG CFSS webcast meeting where we discussed cash flow statement, intangible assets, business combinations, and equity method, as well as recent EFRAG topics. On the 19th of September, we held an EFRAG FRTEG webcast where, in addition to IFRS 19, which Aleksandra just spoke about, we discussed the dynamic risk management, rate-regulated activities, and EFRAG's research project on the cash flow statement. On the 25th of September, we had an EFRAG FRB meeting where we discussed again IFRS 19, as well as due process procedures and technical work plan. On the 26th of September, EFRAG, together with the German Accounting Standards Committee, the Austrian National Standard Setter, the ISB, and Swiss GAAP Fair, held a joint outreach event in German on the ISB's post-implementation review of IFRS 16. More details of these discussions are available in the PDF version of the EFRAG update on our website. In October, we will hold the next joint EFRAG FRB FRTEG session. It will be on the 14th of October, where we expect to finalize and approve the final comment letter on post-implementation review of IFRS 16, and also an EFRAG FRTEG session, which will be on the 22nd of October, where, among other things, we will discuss the results of the DRM survey we conducted these last months.
Thank you very much for this update, Serge. It was busy and efficient month here at EFRAG. Thank you to our listeners for their continuous interest in financial reporting. Stay tuned for our next podcast.